This is from SCNR.com. Hazmat crew arrives at home of Donald Trump Jr. after he was sent white powder and death threats. Quote, this is actually the second white powder substance. Quote, this is actually the second white powder substance envelope that's been mailed to me, Trump Jr. said. So apparently this, I don't know, is this an actual image of the letter? Anna Claire?
From what I know, yeah.
Wow.
It's Cassandra's story, but from what I know, that's the letter.
Hazmat and firefighters were at the Jupiter, Florida home of Donald Trump Jr. on Monday after the former president's son received a threatening letter containing white powder. The letter was also addressed to his fiancée, Kimberly Guilfoyle, Eric Trump, and his wife, Laura, Jared and Ivanka Kushner, and Barron Trump. Quote, Trump Jr., the eldest son of former President Donald Trump, received the letter and opened the envelope, causing the white powder to fly out. I just got to say, Don, what are you doing? Open your own mail?
Yeah, I don't get that at all, Don.
I don't open mail.
Yeah, no. Well, what do you do? That makes no sense to me.
Look, I'm not going to blame the guy for wanting open mail. It's a normal human thing everyone should do, and he shouldn't be receiving these kinds of attacks against him. For me, I can just say this. Our security's been so intense. We've got like crazy mail security now. It's nuts. We used to have a P.O. box where people could send stuff. We had to get rid of it. I mean, it still kind of exists. But it's like most stuff has to be returned because of security issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like to receive that stuff, it's almost an unreasonable amount of security you got to go through.
It just ends up getting thrown back.
Do we know what the letter said?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I should read it, though, because it's probably a death threat. Let's see.
I'm just curious if it said like any, like, you know, you're the reason this country's falling apart. You're the Antichrist. I mean, you know, something like that.
Let's just say it's generally things like that. Calling Donald, like his father, Don Jr. continues to shack up with his California whore. Newsom is laughing his ass off, and it goes on to just disparage and insult the family.
Okay.
Containing white powder.
Do you think, and Tucker Carlson has talked about this a lot, and I agree with him, with everything they're throwing at Donald Trump right now. You know, every indictment, every just absolute banana republic that happened in New York, this most recent ruling. The only thing left is to go after him in a different way, right? And I don't want to get us in trouble here on everything, but we all know.
Just intimidate his family.
Yeah, intimidate his family. I mean, do you think that this is the next step? Because everything that's been thrown at Trump's family, everything like that, do you think, this type of thing, I mean, we're talking about this right here. Do you think that this is the next thing that's going to happen? Because the people that do not want Trump to win, they're losing their mind. Because nothing's working, right?
In Trump's first campaign, a man tried grabbing a gun from a cop to assassinate Trump.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue is, for the powerful interests that don't like Donald Trump, they're smart. And they know, as the saying goes, if you take a shot at the king, don't miss.
Right.
So you have to be, if you're going up against Donald Trump, you have to make sure you've planned everything out. You need 5 layers of strategy. And so what do we got? We got New York with these, they're hitting them, and it's multifaceted.
Yeah.
You've got the NDA trial, you've got the E. Jean Carroll rape trial, you've got the fraud trial, you've got the Georgia trial, you've got the documents trial at the federal level.
January 6th trial.
January 6th trial.
Yeah.
I mean, they're throwing every legal weapon at him that they can, because that is the slow boil attack against Trump that can stop him without creating a shock to the system. Yeah. Basically, imagine this. Donald Trump is, he's got a bunch of tiny little people firing little ropes over him, slowly wrapping him up one at a time, as if he's Godzilla being stopped by the military. I want you to imagine that's how I envision it. The Democrats,
a big orange Godzilla,
yeah. And Democrats have 1,000 little soldiers all firing ropes, tying him up. No single action is going to stop Trump.
Right.
I don't think they would actually try to harm Donald Trump as of right now, because it would shock the system so massively, it could rip the country apart, and it could actually harm their efforts to gain control.
But under that logic, we have to believe that the left, that I don't believe actually wants what's best for the country, they don't want the country to rip itself apart.
I don't think that they want a martyr, right?
You're right. Far leftists, Antifa types may want to, but I don't think the establishment deep state would allow the far left to try anything to harm Donald Trump. For now, I don't know. Things will change. Right now, we're looking at Donald Trump getting a $454 million fine.
Yep.
With $87,500 per day added onto it.
Yep.
It is completely illegitimate as far as any sane human goes, but they are going to use the force of New York State to try and go after Trump in a way they would describe as legitimate. It's not, but they're going to say, look, it's the law and the judge said so. Trump's got to fight that. That is the slow boil move against Trump, which stops system shock. The powers that be want the system to remain intact to a certain degree. I think they're viewing it like having a fever, heat everything up to a point where you can shuffle off like January 6th, right? Convince them all to do something stupid, yell at them and tell them to go storm the Capitol. When they do, you can then start arresting them under legitimacy of law.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump gets hurt in any way, it's going to martyr him. Even if he doesn't die, it's going to rally support for him. We see this with every politician when someone tries to take the life of a politician.
Right.
So I think the uniparty is like very much so. Trump must be safe.
Yeah.
And he must be destroyed in court.
And the legal onslaught is what the Republican, the faction of the Republican Party that doesn't want to see him elected is also using against him. Nikki Haley gave that speech last week, midweek, where she's like, I'm not dropping out. And one of her criticisms of Trump was he spends more time in the courtroom than on the campaign trail.
Well,
but why does he spend so much time in the courtroom? Because he has to, because he's under attack in a way that no politician who has campaigned has been under attack, which I find really interesting because obviously at this point, those who are supporting Nikki Haley are just probably anti-Trump.
Well, they're Democrats, most of them.
Right, and because that's the talking point, he's not out here campaigning enough. It's interesting that it's two sides teaming up to say the legal front is Trump's biggest witness.
Well, what does that say about the country right now? Because she is right? Like, I mean, that is true. He's spending more time in the courtroom, less time on the campaign trail. She tried to put this thing out there the other day, which Nikki Haley unfriended me, so the gloves are off now. Either way.
Like unfriended you on Facebook? Or?
On Instagram and whatnot, which is crazy because either way, boy, so gloves are off. She did this post about how he's all in court. He spent like $100 million over the course of whatever. Well, she spent like upwards of $300 million in the past 3-4 months and has got her butt kicked every single step of the way. I don't know. To me, it seems like a boiling point where we're at because they're doing anything and everything they can. The money thing is concerning. It really is. People's net worth versus what they actually have on them and the availability is very different. And so the money thing is a concern. I think everybody is concerned about that because that is, in a way, Trump's superpower. He doesn't need the money of other people. And if he wasn't being donated a dime, he could self-fund this thing himself. Going after that, taking away the business license for 3 years, how long is this going to take to get an appeal? Right. But back to the original thing about this, maybe they don't go after Trump himself, but what about his family?
I think one of the lawsuits involved is so none of the Trumps can operate a business in New York at all.
Well, that's the New York one, yeah.
Right. And so there is this idea that they're going after them financially. They want Trump to be bankrupt, but they also want it so none of his sons who took over the business, because he had to move everything into their names, they do not want any of the Trumps to be able to succeed financially and potentially run other political campaigns, right? Because
where was the Secret Service during this letter? Don't all the immediate family kids still have secrets, or does that go away after a while?
That's what I would want to know about this letter in particular. Like, was this... Because obviously, like, yes, you can have systems so that your business mail doesn't come directly to you or whatever else. But theoretically, if this letter made it far enough into his home, how was it disguised? How was it sent in? Was it something that says, like, this is from your children's school?
Your Aunt Judy sent this to you?
Or, this is from your kid's school. It definitely needs your signature, so it gets through some sort of screening process. Like, that's what's so interesting to me about this letter.
That would be the biggest...
It was able to make it into the home.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Which would mean it's someone who's close enough to know where the
or where did the security breakdown happen? I've talked to the Trump team many times about I think they need to double, triple, quadruple the security that's going on for a letter like this with a white powdery substance, and we'll find out if they haven't already released if it was anything at all yet. Hopefully it wasn't. How did that actually get into the home? That would make me question who's around Don Jr.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about this letter is like he's listing it says it's to all of the siblings and their significant others, except for Tiffany Trump and her husband, right? Like there is a level where this is, and she's the one who's the most removed, I would say, other than Barron, although Barron goes viral every once in a while for being 100 feet tall.
Dude, if he don't get a NBA contract, it's going to be crazy.
He absolutely cannot fit in the White House anymore.
No,
but I mean, there is a level where people who are sort of deranged will do whatever it takes and maybe something gets through a security system. I think that generally the the children of Trump have always been caught in the crosshairs. Some of them want to be more publicly involved and some of them want to be more private.
Right.
That was arguably that's true for any child of a president, right? That there will always be people who hate your parents and people will want to intimidate you.
Yeah. Well, somebody's getting fired. That's all I know. That the letter got all the way to Don Jr. and Don Jr. physically opened it himself. Yeah, somebody's getting fired.
How do you? I can't understand that.
How does it get there? That's what I'm saying.
I've not opened a piece of mail in like 6 years.
Look at the security, Trump team. If you're watching, look at the security, the security of you. Who let that get to you?
That's where I feel like it has to be something that was either hand delivered to him specifically, or like was marked in a way that only he was supposed to see the contents of it.
Huh.
And again, that's why my default is to think like, oh, it's a letter from school, right? That's maybe got sensitive information about your kid.
Yeah, but still,
that's
to
total
Tim's
speculation.
Point, like you just. It just seems like Don Jr. doesn't open his mail. You know, like, it's a bill. Don Jr. doesn't open a bill. You know, like, I mean, they've got other people that pay the bill. I mean, this is the Trump family, right? Like, that's weird.
No, I don't know. I think Trump Jr. probably pays all his own bills and takes care of business and all that stuff.
I bet he's got an accountant that does it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know about his bills. Clearly, he's opening his own mail.
Well, obviously he's opening his own mail.
I gotta say, this story's crazy to me because I'll tell you two things. Not only do I not open mail, but I certainly wouldn't open a letter from someone I didn't recognize. Dude, I don't even answer my phone. It doesn't matter who's calling me.
So if they impersonated somebody that they knew, isn't that a felony? Like to impersonate somebody via the federal mail, like that? You know, oh, I'm so and so that you know.
Yeah, isn't that a crime? People spoof phone numbers. So I don't even answer my phone.
Yeah.
Because it could say anything and you'll answer it and you will get something else. So aside from that, you know, I mentioned this before, it's like at a certain point, and maybe it's just, I'd assume Trump family security issues are way worse than ours, but I don't have my own computer, phone, and I don't have the mail, and I don't have email. I don't have anything.
Well, when you go to Mar-a-Lago, I mean, they know me there. Like I go there a lot and I get the same treatment, the same pat downs, the same everything all the time. So again, to your point, that's the weirdest part to me is
well, ladies and gentlemen,
that even happened.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you all next time.